He's a co-host. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. So on today's podcast for Money Talks, Love Listens, I have a new co-host, which I'm really excited about, as well as promised, a new guest for this week. And first and foremost, I want to introduce my new co-host, Jim. And Jim, if you could kind of share a little bit about yourself very quickly. I know we have a lot to cover today, but just kind of your background. Jim is obviously in finance, since, as most of you know, I am not the money guru. So please kind of share with everyone, what you do and kind of how you got into it.
Okay. Well, I'm a vice president of a private wealth management firm in the western suburbs, where we help successful individuals and business owners make smarter decisions with their money in three main tiers, risk management, wealth accumulation, and then wealth disbursement. That means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But, I got into this really because I wanted to help people really achieve what's most important, and they could achieve what is really most desirable inside. And I found that I could do it a little bit better and a little bit quicker than other people that I came across 20 years ago when I started this business. So that's kind of my thing.
Perfect. And today we've never interviewed someone who is psychic, which I'm really excited about because I actually work with a psychic that I use personally. And scary enough, everything she's ever said to me has been true. So apparently it works. So whether or not you do believe in psychics or you do believe in at least intuition, because we obviously all at least have an inner voice and intuition, I think this will be an interesting conversation for those of you that maybe would be thinking about using a psychic for maybe a love reading or a business reading, or both, since most of us want love and money. So without further ado, I would love to introduce our guest today, Vaishali. And I would love to kind of hear definitely your story and your journey, because I don't think it's very common to talk to someone that kind of, as you said, had a left brain or right brain, and then you went into kind of a different, obviously, field. And I find that fascinating. I feel that actually happens a lot more than we probably hear about. So please kind of, introduce yourself and tell everyone what exactly you do and kind of how you became this psychic.
Sure. So, hey, everyone, I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Gwen and Jim. My name is Vaishali Nikhade, and I am a business psychic. And believe it or not, all of us are born psychic. And I was actually seeking guidance. I wasn't aware Gwen actually uses a psychic.
Yeah.
But, I was seeking guidance and for my career. And I started getting advice from psychics. And I went from 5, 10 to 20, 30, 40, 50, something like that. And I said, oh my God, these people have no idea what they're talking about. I better learn this myself. So that's when I decided to learn it myself, and I started studying it. So I used to be an engineer. So I have a very well developed, very intelligent, well developed left brain. So I had to change my ways of thinking and looking at things. And I started looking at things differently. And I started studying it, experimenting with the readings, playing with it for myself, on myself, to be able to see the results. And once I started getting results, I said, oh my God, this actually works. So then I started reading other people, and they came back and they said it's all coming true. So then I recently transitioned to more focusing on businesses and business owners, how they can leverage their time and resources to kind of get a better cash flow. Like in Jim's case, I could probably work with him or his clients.
I like that.
Yeah. So obviously, as those of you may or may not know, I guess I'm the dating guru. I guess you could call me that. But I have a company called Love Talk. That is why the podcast was created, as well as many other things that we do, which basically focuses on finding people love and also giving them some tools from dating coaches, as well as some education, because I feel a lot of times people are just told to date and marry and they don't know what to do, which is why obviously we have a lot of failed marriages, but also people who are not getting married and not even able to get to that point, or just any committed relationship. So we obviously, because of COVID, I cannot host any face-to-face events. We are doing quite a lot throughout the country, but because of COVID, the good thing is we're able to keep that up virtually, as well as explore some other international cities. We just launched our UK version of our virtual dating, speed dating, so we're really excited about that. So that is my background in a nutshell for right now, but I really want to ask you questions, Vaishali, obviously about love. And as you said, you know, leveraging kind of the psychic energy that I feel you said most of us already have. What kind of advice can you give just like off the cuffs on, I feel a lot of women are, you know, having maybe first or second dates virtually now because we're not able to do maybe the first couple dates in person. And they might feel like this is, you know, you've heard like this is the one, or this is someone that I think I can have a deeper connection with. What would you tell someone in that scenario if they are feeling that? What should they do? Should they kind of ignore that? Should they run away from it? Or should they, you know, kind of pursue that?
Well, I guess if they come to me, I could tell them where the relationship would go, but I have done a lot of readings, like I think over 7,000, 7 to 9,000 readings. That's a lot of readings. And a lot of them have been related to relationships. And I can give you advice based on that. So there's a couple of different things. So one is, you know, when you feel a connection between the two people, and some girls would come to me and say, you know, I feel a very strong connection to this guy, but, you know, they'll say, oh, I think that something is off. So when you feel that something is off, it's more like your gut telling you to kind of do some sort of verification or ask something else, which would kind of bring out what is off. Right. So my first piece of advice would be to always listen to your gut. And if your gut is saying no, then no matter how appealing it seems and how real it seems, it's going to come out at some point. So you have to be a little bit careful.
No, I like that. I feel that that's a good advice. I mean, if you're feeling that it sucks then, or something's off, then especially now, I know a lot of people are afraid of getting catfished because of a lot of virtual stuff. But you know, I feel if someone's saying they're in a certain time zone and they're not, you could probably figure that one out. If someone's saying they're employed or if they're not, then you could probably eventually figure those ones out.
I didn't know that you were doing speed dating, because I think I can psychically match the people who would actually have a connection. We can do it next time.
Yeah, no.
Because, you know, I get a lot of girls who come to me for relationships, and they would say that, like, for instance, they would have like 5 guys in front of them. So I just tell them that, hey, just number them 1 through 5. And then I tell them that, you know, with 1, he's not telling you the truth. 2, it's not going to work out. 3, there's a connection, but, you know, like maybe he's lying.
Yeah.
4th is the one that's really going to work out. And the 5th one is more like short term. So I give them the background of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then that way, you know, they're more prepared to go and handle all the guys. So we could do that in speed dating. It's more like intelligent speed dating.
Yeah.
And this way, you know, it's more like match the pair.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would love that. I feel like I'm trying to think what happened in the last speed dating that I was in, or the moderator, because I wasn't dating anyone in there. But yeah, people have hooked up. Like I've seen it. I can't say who it is, but people are definitely still still dating, and sometimes this is the only interaction a lot of people have virtually throughout their day, just because of, especially depending on where they're living right now. But just obviously a lot of people are working at home. Maybe they're not able to see family, or family's too far away. And this is it. Like, this is the first time they can see someone without a mask for at least an hour. But yeah, I would love.
So depending on how many people cross with each other, it's possible that two people may be there, but their paths may not cross at all because of the way do you call that? Shuffle the chair. I forget the name of it.
Musical chairs. That's what's called.
Musical chair. There you go. Because of the way the musical chair is set up, so we can make it more kind of conducive to people who are more likely to meet and match, rather than, we'll just try to help them in a better way.
Yeah, no, I would love to. And then in 2021, we're moving into actually more matchmaking, like face to face, because we're hoping COVID will not be died down, but just somewhat contained in some manner. So we can't hold face-to-face events, but we can send people out on face-to-face dates. So that's what will be happening next year. Why should people actually use a psychic? I mean, obviously you've obviously given a lot of feedback in terms of how many thousands of people that have come to you, but like, why are people coming to you? Like, what have they done before they kind of, reached out to you, or what have they tried?
So one of the examples I gave you was related to relationships, which is like, I said that some girl comes up with 5 guys, and I tell them which guy is actually going to work. So a lot of them are related to relationships. I also give them like a description of their future girlfriend or boyfriend kind of a thing. And I am very good at that. That's actually my best-selling love reading. So now I wanted to switch it over a little bit towards money. And a lot of the people who work with businesses, or they're entrepreneurs and they are looking at finances, they come to me for financial reasons. So I'll give you a couple of examples depending on how much time we have, but I'll try to be quick and short. So one of the gals, she's actually a client of mine, and she came to me for a relationship reading maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, long time back. So I actually predicted her future boyfriend, and she got married to him, and she also divorced him.
Oh, wow.
So now I predicted her next one. But she was going to invest around 20 grand at some resort in Mexico or something. And she started asking me if it was going to pan out. And essentially what I told her was that the deal was actually fraudulent, and she was just going to lose all her money. So think about investing like an hour with a psychic versus investing and losing 20 grand. Like, which option would you go with, right?
Yeah.
So that's a no-brainer. The other one is related to also a financial transaction, which is I have a client, actually, she came to me for a relationship reading too. That's how they all come in. But now she talks to me about relationship as well as business. And she was going to put a bid on a contract for like 225,000. And she was very nervous. She wasn't sure if, her bid was going to get accepted or rejected. And she's like, is it too high? Is it too low? I don't want to leave money on the table. I don't want to bid too high and lose it.
Right.
So essentially, I told her, just go and put it at 260. So she had been working with me for a while by that time when she came to me. So 260,000. So she actually put in 260 and got it. So that's a 35 grand raise.
Oh my God.
Would you see a psychic for that?
Giving people money. Like, this is amazing. So on that note, I think it's a great transition to money. So my co-host Jim has a few questions for you, obviously about finances.
Vaishali, that was well said. I mean, talking about relationships, I mean, it's interesting in the financial services area, the relationships is the number one thing. I mean, our main focus is to make sure we give clientele a good experience. And I always want to try to parlay and work with feelings with somebody, what their goals are, and try to achieve what's most important with those goals. So I wanted to, since we're talking about love and money, I wanted to talk a lot about families and about, ways and areas that you would recommend and things that you would like, or we can talk about on how to help generational planning. So grandparents to parents to kids. There are certain areas that we work on, in the financial advisor area, where we can make sure that the generational planning is in place. So if something happens to grandma and grandpa, the parents are taken care of, and if something happens to the parents, the kids are taken care of. Okay. Have you ever heard of any generational planning out there? And is there anything that you know about that?
No, I have not. And I do get people coming asking about when they will inherit some stuff. So essentially they're asking, when will the person owning the stuff pass away in a nicer way? Because they're asking, when will I inherit it? So I have done some questions on inheritance and stuff, but I have not done anything related to generational planning at all, unfortunately.
Well, the beneficiary type planning is a big portion of it. One of the things that we try to do every time we have meetings is we have a quote unquote family meeting where everyone knows where passwords are, or if someone has a safety deposit box, or we want to make sure all beneficiaries are accurate and up to date. But a big thing that I see with generations is, grandparents want to give money. They want to give money to make sure their grandkids are taken care of. So we try to implement as many tax sheltered savings vehicles so grandma and grandpa can fund money to the kids outside of just savings bonds or just in checking accounts, where you can maximize your returns, minimize your risk, and then we can make sure that the kids are taken care of. But beneficiaries, actually, you hit the nail on the head. That's a big one because that eliminates probate court. And then just make sure that anytime anyone works or is in that capacity, work with a good advisor. Like THG Financial Group is, we work in a wide spectrum of areas, and you want to make sure you partner with someone that knows all that stuff. Does that make sense?
I will know where to send them if they are looking for generational planning from now onwards.
Then a second question I would ask, or just ask of anyone, is has anyone approached you about any educational planning or any ways to shelter tax locally or make sure the kids can go off to college in any state to really eliminate any cash flow constraints when they have to pay for college? Those are big ones. Those are two big ones that are happening now with families.
Yeah. I haven't done that type of reading either, unfortunately.
Okay. I think we just opened up another area for you.
Yeah, there you go.
College is expensive. I don't know how much college is now, but I feel like college is like $50,000 a year, depending on what college you're going to. At least the private ones, like I don't know how much the Ivies are, but they're high. Like they're like a college.
Does that include the cost of the car or no?
Just inflation alone for tuition is very high. I know that one of the things that we do heavily is we maximize based on budgets, we maximize every investment tool. And now in the state of Illinois, you can actually deduct some of your state and local taxes off of that. So you can, you basically double dip on tax savings. But a bigger thing is that the parents, they can actually focus on having the kids or children go off to school without having a budgetary constraint when they're there. It's just planning ahead. It's pretty interesting. And if you do that, that reduces stress. You can increase your love. Let's do this. And then increase your relationships.
I guess my question would be for a lot of people, like I know a lot of people, depending on their political party, I'm not going to talk about the election, but a lot of people were thinking, at least my partner, that because he voted one way, his professional graduate loan will be gone, or reduced drastically. I don't think that's true. He went to medical school. So obviously medical school is a lot of money. And there are a lot of people in healthcare who just drown. It's like not even normal debt. It's like you own a house depending on the city that you live in, or a condo or a cheap condo, depending on the city. But you don't have anything to show for it. Obviously you have your career, but it's going to take a long time to make that up. Have you heard anybody kind of talking about that who maybe like, especially first responders or people in medicine, have they reached out to you and kind of expressed their maybe financial concerns? Because I know he's not the only one. Especially there's a lot of residents right now that are working crazy hours, obviously not getting paid enough to even cover their loans.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so not medical doctors per se, but I have talked to some clients related to loans. And sometimes, there can be like a tricky workaround on how they can navigate the loan or navigate the payment. So I have done a few readings like that.
Okay.
But I think most of the financial stuff that I get, it's more for negotiation and for more like a business transaction to figure out if the deal is real or not, to figure out if they're going to make money, if they're bidding too high, bidding too low, those kind of things.
That's interesting. Do you work, or do your clientele work with any business valuation systems? So if there's a system that gives a valuation of an organization that's going to be bought out, is that something that you look at and say, hey, this is something that is worth it or not worth it? And then you give them the psychic readings that way?
I can do that. So that was the 20,000 example that I gave you, which is she was putting an investment in something, and essentially it was not real. And that's really what I told her. There was another example of a guy who was, I think he was putting like 150,000, and he was investing for emeralds outside the US. And essentially that deal was also fraudulent. It looks like I'm attracting a lot of them. And I told him that he was going to lose his money. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how rich you are, 150 grand is quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
So what he did, so he was a little bit smart. So what he did is he asked the guy with whom he was doing the transaction that, hey, can you send me your airplane tickets? And the guy wasn't even able to send his airplane tickets. So that died right there.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, that's a very value added piece if anyone's going to take over a business and buy someone else. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But Gwen, to answer your question, if you have someone that's in the residency type program or anyone that's finished graduate school, let me know and we can talk one-on-one.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's the one I know.
Yeah.
He keeps coming up. I've mentioned this before, but he's had this, which I am totally against. And I'm like, that's crazy. Don't do that. Where he's like, no, one day, you might be able to claim bankruptcy from the massive student loan debt. And I'm like, absolutely not. Like, do not do that. Like, there has to be another way. But it's a lot. Like, how much? I don't know if I love you that much. I shouldn't say that, but it's true.
That was recorded.
Yeah, I know. Well, you have social media. It's fine. No, we've talked about this so many times. It's I feel like it shouldn't even cost this much, especially because of what's going on. Like, most graduate degrees are quite expensive. Vaishali, I guess my other question, kind of to wrap up everything, is you said people kind of start where they come in the door with relationships, but I guess they're leaving with another question, or they come back with a business question. Have you had a client that came in with both? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, most of the clients have multiple questions. Like, even if the clients come in the door for a business or business questions. So I do like half a VIP day, or I do like a monthly thing where they can talk to me every month. But so a business is actually connected to the business owner. So they're kind of tied to each other. So it cannot always be 100% about the business. It's always tied to the owner. So then, the reading naturally evolves around the business and the owner, and it's all intermingled.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this, I know we're talking more about business, but it's still the same thing as we're talking about love and business. A lot of business owners are obviously struggling right now or having to pivot. I mean, I myself had to pivot because obviously of the pandemic, but a lot of people are either maybe closing their business or they're trying to I think a lot of businesses are just trying to survive right now and just make enough to cover the essentials and then hopefully get back to some kind of profitability. Do you have any advice for businesses that are in that mode that aren't closing, thankfully, but they're not yet at their profitable margins that they were maybe before?
So there are some spiritual techniques that you can use in order to create the money outside like the physical stuff that we do. And I've actually taught classes like that. And I'll just say that, a lot of people, including me, made like, I don't want to say the number.
Yeah, the same number.
But let's just say there was like a huge chunk of direct deposit in the account, like the largest ever, perhaps, that kind of money. So I'm thinking of teaching that class again because it's a very different way to look at money than just kind of, most of us are born or taught that, if you work hard, then you make money kind of a thing.
Right.
But there is a lot more to working hard. It's not just doing the physical work. It's also doing a lot of the spiritual work because we are a spirit in a body. And by doing the spiritual work and the physical work together, because we are a human being, then it becomes a little bit easier to be able to quote unquote manifest money or to be able to create it and get it. It will usually come from sources that we may not imagine. And it's almost like the universe is opening like lots of weird doors, which we may not have thought of. And that's why when I said in the beginning that, I had to switch my way of thinking, because the logical brain or the left brain thinks like in a certain manner. So I talk about this on one of my podcast episode. I think it's called When Logic Competes. There's 2 episodes. I forget the other one. The other one is called The Impulsive Instinct. So in both of those episodes, I talk about, one of them is like how logic differs from intuition. And then the other one is what do you do when logic is trying to compete with intuition? And you will find that intuition will always kind of take you through nonlinear routes and maybe back roads and some paths which you may not have seen or thought of. So when we work on the money aspect, the money will also start coming in from different sources and different places that we may not have thought of. So yeah, I'm thinking maybe I should teach the class again.
Yeah. I'll take that class.
Yeah, we could all make a few bucks.
Well, thank you so much, Vaishali. Jim, do you have any closing statements or questions before we wrap up?
I'll have to charge you more for the class, though.
Yeah. Vaishali, that was fantastic. I learned a lot. I'm excited to get to know you a little bit more because this was exciting to me. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It was fun and very different from some of the podcasts I've done.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I was gonna have wine because, like, I think everybody knows me. I'm like literally. This is my 3rd thing online today. So I'm practically living on screen at this point. Yes. So, I'm going to just start drinking wine every now and then. Okay. But thank you so much, Vaishali. For those of you that are going to watch this, obviously on the replay, or if you are listening on Spotify, make sure to go to my website, mylovetalk.com. That website will, if you send us a message or if you're on Instagram at My Love Talk as well as Facebook, if you send any kind of message on there, we will give you a link to our membership program. If you are single, sorry if you're in a couples, but it's just for singles. And you want to find love, we will be able to help you. And you will also have access to any of our virtual events and then everything we have coming up for next year. And if anybody has anything else to say, where you guys can be contacted at, now is the time to do that.
So my website is theuncannylink.com, and that's mainly for business. And you can check out my website. And I also have a creativity quiz, which you can take and figure out, how creative you are, whether you'll be able to create money or love or both. And also, I have another website by my name, just my first name, last name.com. And over there, you have access to a free love reading where you get like one characteristic of your future girlfriend or boyfriend if you opt in for that. So you're welcome to visit both my sites and sign up for the freebies.
Perfect.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
Oh, and I also have a podcast. Sorry.
You also have what?
I also have a podcast, and it's The Uncanny Link. So you can go on my site, theuncannylink.com, and check out my podcast as well.
Okay. Well, my website is thdfinancial.com. And if you ever have any questions on whether it's generational planning or educational planning or anything with risk management, wealth accumulation, or wealth disbursement, I would be more than happy to help you navigate through these crazy times.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. And as always, we will be back here next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central for another guest and another episode of Money Talks, Love Lessons. Thank you guys.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.